Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and this one is my annual roundup for 2023, where we go through the most watched videos, the least watched videos, some numbers, my favourite moments on Harry's Garage this year, and my car of the year. I'm going to kick off with the numbers, and I'm very pleased to report we had a cracking 2023 on the channel. Numbers are up 20% over the last 12 months and subs are up 85,000. So thank you very much for all those that ticked the box and did notification and all that thing I meant to say at the end of each video but never do. And the other one I thought I'd just mention is the age and the regions where you're watching. It hasn't actually changed very much from last year. I think the UK is still top, 38.2%, which I think it was last year. US comes next, 15%, and Australia, Canada, Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, and the list goes on and on. One of the things YouTube gets very excited about on the analytics is watch time and average view duration. And I thought I'd just have a look. Which country is it that watches my videos the longest? I had to go right down to the bottom of the list. And yeah, I'm very grateful to have a viewer in the Caribbean Netherlands and watched 10 videos with an average view duration of 26 minutes, 23 seconds. He is my most dedicated viewer and I'm very grateful. It might be 2, I don't know, or 10 who only watched one video and never came back, but they watched it for a very long time. Next was Nicaragua, South Sudan, Cuba even. I've got 12 views in Cuba and they watched for 16 minutes. So yeah, it's fun, the analytics on YouTube. You never know what you're going to discover. But let's have a look at the most popular videos on the channel in 2023. And the top 3, kicking off in third position, was the Ineos Grenadier. I had it in sort of the first sort of review of that car away from the launch that happened in Scotland. Didn't go quite as well as we'd hoped, but it proved to be a very popular video and there was a lot to say on that car. I'm trying to think, let's have a look at the views on it. Yeah, 628,000 views. Number 2, the Ferrari Purosangue review. We went out to Italy into the Dolomites and did the review, the first on-road review of the Ferrari Purosangue. Extraordinary experience. My son Charlie came with me, he's on the camera now. We headed up to Cortina and it was spectacular views. It was all a bit of a rushed out video, but you would never know when you actually see the video itself. And yeah, it's a very interesting car, the Purosangue. You can bounce up and down, oh, Ferrari shouldn't be doing a sort of car like that. It's like no other SUV, if you like, because of that V12, that howling V12, and you almost get to enjoy it for longer because it's got more mass to pull through, so the gears last longer. You're not snapping through the gears quite as quick. Anyway, that was a very popular video, as was the walk around. If I'd actually done 12 months period and not for just 2023, it would have been in third position and second position, the 2 videos I've done on Purosangue. But the most popular video of 2023 was actually my Range Rover L322. And I did that upload and asking the question whether this was peak of the Range Rover. And I visited my farmer friend up the road, Jeremy Clarkson, and we rattled off of why we like our 17-year-old Range Rovers. And when it came out in June, that's 1.6 million views. And I was looking back to that. I've done another video on that L322, and that was a sort of buying guide, and it was about 6 years ago, and that's 1.1 million views. So not only was it the top video this year, it is by far the most popular car in my garage on YouTube. 2 videos, 2.7 million views total, so 1.3 average every time I feature the Range Rover L322. So maybe I ought to do a few more videos on it. I also looked at the least popular videos I put out in 2023, and the bottom 3 were the Ferrari Testarossa and that refresh that I did down at Prestige Refinishing and all that bodywork. Again, it's like the Lancia Zagato. There's a dedicated few who like those sort of videos, refreshing, restoring these cars, and they are absolutely addicted to it. but it doesn't get widespread interest. I think it did 133,000 views, so not a disaster, but it's not something that gets top of the charts during the restorations. Second place, sustainable fuels. Yeah, we went in a deep dive into sustainable fuels. I knew it was never going to get big numbers, but I think it's an interesting topic, and those that were interested, it was quite a technical video. And some of it went over my head. Well, quite a lot of it went over my head, but I thought it was just useful to put out there because we're on a journey with sustainable fuels. That was a benchmark. We'll get to know it more. The more you talk about it, the more you learn. And it's a 10-year journey, I should imagine, on sustainable fuels. They are going to be something that all manufacturers, I heard yesterday, Lamborghini are now talking about sustainable fuels. We know Porsche obviously are, and we know Ferrari are as well. So it's a space to keep watching. They're obviously more expensive, way more expensive, just over £4 a litre at the moment, so significantly more than pump prices. But they're a very interesting development for these sort of cars and potentially for modern internal combustion engine cars beyond 2035. We'll have to watch and see what happens. But the least popular video I put out in 2023 comes as a bit of a surprise. Again, people who watched the video really enjoyed it, but not many people watched it in total. 119,000 people watched the Caterham Project V walk around. A very interesting take on how to do an electric sports car, that placement of the battery, splitting that, and the weight and the look and that three-seater layout. Fascinating. I'm very glad I did it, and I'm surprised it proved to be the lowest viewed video I did in 2023. But it's not all about the stats. It's also about which videos we enjoyed doing and which cars proved to be more disappointing than perhaps when I booked the car and I was excited to get it and we drove it, and it didn't sort of live up to expectations. And I suppose I've got, well, 3 or 4 there. The most recent one, Lotus Electra. It seems to have really picked up its own sort of speed at the moment, and people are really commenting on it. They don't like this idea of a 2.6 tonne Lotus SUV. I can quite understand why Geely and Lotus are moving into that space. We've seen other premium manufacturers move into it. But it was the inefficiency that I highlighted in the video, because it's something I now look at all. If I get an electric car in to test, it's what I look at. It's not all about the size of the battery, it's the efficiency of the drivetrain, really clever design and low CD factors and minimal frontal area. I think that I was just really surprised that Electra was not good on efficiency, the amount of electric it actually uses to go down the road, and therefore range was poor. Third, well, yeah, the Ineos Grenadier. I didn't want to rubbish that car. It's, you know, Jim Radcliffe, this is a passion project. It's a British-led thing. It was honourable what he was trying to do, but I have to report as found. And for a road car, I thought it was pretty compromised. Okay, it had off-road ability, but it was very manual, and having to do those switches and not having an automatic diff lock. I don't understand that sort of thing. So it was compromised, which I highlighted in the video. And yeah, it came as a disappointment. It is not something that you want to do, and especially when it's a one-off car like that, and the effort that goes into producing a car is huge, and you don't want to knock it just for the sake of it, but it, you know, it needed highlighting the issues I had with it. And then BMW, M3 CS, you know, it was clever, but I didn't really desire it. It didn't look great. I don't like the design language they've got, that very electric type steering. Yes, you could adjust the chassis and all sorts of parameters, but I just didn't desire it. And the same goes for the other BMW, M4 CSL. Way more expensive, stripped out. I didn't see the advantage to what they'd done with it. It still wasn't a light car. They'd taken the rear seats out, taken the practicality out. I don't mind if they really strip the lightness out of it and they take 200, 250 kilos out, but that was just taking tens of kilos out. So that car was a real disappointment. It was highly compromised on my bit of road, that super stiff suspension. I've nearly put the M2 in, but I thought, no, having 2 M cars is enough in the list. But What were the cars I most enjoyed in 2023? Well, I don't know. There was loads really. That visit out to Alfa Romeo and going to Turin and Milan, seeing that Alfa Statale 33 in the studio, talking to the designer, seeing the passion behind the design. That was a great visit. And then to go on to the museum. So that was a real highlight for me. Then we had Mille Miglia actually taking part for the start with Harold Veninger in that Mercedes 300 SL. I've never been in one, a Gullwing. Always wanted to drive one. What an environment to get to know a 300 Gullwing on the Mille Miglia, on those open roads every now and then. Hugely enjoyable, really loved that day. Then also, Sand Raiders. I pinch myself that when we go out with my son Charlie and we do that 7 days out in Morocco, great group of people, hard riding, so hot this year, and slight trepidation when you go out and how tough it's going to be, but it just feels great to do it. And the vistas and what we see out there and the camaraderie and the crazy, early starts, the long days, sleeping in bivouacs out in the desert, it's just magic. So that was a massive highlight. And then I think the most enjoyable, the one I thought, wow, pinch yourself moment, was the final video I did with the Lancia Zagato when I took it up to where I first saw it in 1973 outside my parents' house in Birkenhead. Went through that journey, we went, bought it, discovered, what it was, did the restoration, COVID hit, all those masks went deeper, 2 years, crazy amount of money spent. But it was fantastic up there. And, it's what I always wanted to do. When I saw it, I thought, oh, that looks a fantastic car. I would love to drive it on those roads. And in 2023, I did. And that was my most enjoyable moment, I think, of 2023. But it's not my car of the year. And I've plucked out 5 cars. I don't know. When I book the cars in, I'm fairly fussy on the cars we get in. So they're all hopefully are going to be good. But I think the standout was, I've done a top 5, and in number 5, I'm going to start with an Aston Martin DBS 770 Ultimate. I love that big Aston. Shouldn't like it, it's a bit heavy, it's turbocharged, interior's not great. And then you go and live with it for a week, and he said, yeah, I could live this forever. It just works, and it's, friendly, giant, it looks right, has real presence to it. So really enjoyed my week with that. And in number 4, there's another Aston Martin, and that was the Aston Martin Vantage 7-litre I had in. That beautifully restored car, manual, that monstrous engine. There was some quirks with it, the drive position. I'm very grateful to Nicholas Mead, who actually emailed me after I did the test and said, you can adjust the steering, you can pull the steering out. I rather wish I'd known that during the time I had with the car. But what a brutish, what a fantastic looking Aston that was. And that was a fantastic car. So that's in number 4. Number 3. Now, this one will probably come as a surprise because this is a car I featured but never actually drove, but spent a very long day with it and with the engineers. And that was that Mercedes EQXX concept car they took out to Mille Miglia. That car has completely changed my opinion of electric cars and where we're actually heading. That was a glimpse into the future of where electric cars and how efficient they can be when engineers are left to their own devices and work out what would make a really efficient and electric car. It was fun to drive, it was light, it was a 4-seater, there's 2 of us in it, 7 point something to 60, but its ability to go miles on a little bit of electricity was astonishing. It is so much better than anything that's out there. I did it in the report. There was I struggling to get 2 miles per kilowatt hour out of the Lotus Electra. That Mercedes was doing 9 miles per kilowatt hour on a cruise, on a motorway. Completely revolutionary. One of the reasons that car is so efficient is because it uses a fantastic bit of British technology that won the Dura Award at the Royal Automobile Club this year. And that's YASA, and it's this axial flux motor, electric motor they've developed that is incredibly efficient. And Mercedes spotted its potential, I think just before lockdown, invested in the company and then bought it outright. And you were going to see that technology on actual production cars from late 24, early 2025. And I can't wait for it to arrive. Having driven that car, I'm sort of pausing on electric cars. I remember Lord Bamford, when I did that thing with hydrogen, he says he sees the electric cars of today as being like prototypes. We're not quite there yet, and they will come forward. Well, having been in that Mercedes EQS X, I'm now in agreement with Lord Bamford on that conclusion. Then, what came next? Yeah, in second position. This is tough. Between first and second, it was very close. But I'm going to put in second position the Ferrari 288 GTO. I'm extremely grateful to the owner of that car for letting me enjoy that car over weeks. You know, Charlie brought it back from Paris. We had it for a couple of months or so, perhaps longer, and really got to know it. And it was an absolute hero car of mine, and it lived up to it. That fantastic engine, and it was usable. The only thing I couldn't live with was the seats, so maybe that's why I knocked it into second position. But in number one, I'm going to put that Lamborghini Huracan Starato. What a surprise. I saw it at Goodwood when it was first released. I thought, that's a bit silly, I'm not sure about that. And again, you live with these cars and you realise what they've actually done is made it more usable, more enjoyable, that they are fun. Lamborghini's never been a particularly serious brand. They'd like to have fun, and they have fun with the design, and there was no more fun to be had from that car. And it was, if that is the sort of the end of the V10 era Lamborghini, what a way to go out. So we had a huge amount of fun with that, on road and off road if you watch the video. But that car is my car of the year of Harry's Garage 2023. So there you go, there's a rundown, everything that happened in 2023, the highlights and the lowlights. Thank you ever so much for watching and being such a loyal audience. Please keep subscribing, please press in that notification and that sort of thing. There are more videos coming in 2024. We're off to Dakar again in a couple of weeks, and I'm already planning quite a few road trips, so lots to see. So there you go, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, keep watching, keep subscribing, more videos coming along very soon.